Thank you for the generous introduction. First of all, thanks to the organizers, especially Dr. Arvind and Meghna, who had taken efforts to change my schedule from yesterday to today. This was a really uneventful, it's an event for me very important to attend this function, or this CLE or international conference, for not one reason, that it is going to add some knowledge, but it is going to add to me also something very important, because I'm only an odd person here among the researchers. I'm a clinician surgeon and I'm facing all the researchers here. That's a big difference for today's conference. But definitely today the science is changing in dynamics. It's a dynamic science. The reason is that what we have learned 100 years before, we are practicing today. Our textbooks of medicine are teaching us science what we have learned 100 years before, or 50 years before, or 60 years before. And we are trying to practice that science. We are not aware, we are not connecting that old to the newer what's happening, because applications are changing, dynamics are such fast. We were taught in our school, medicine, that neurons cannot multiply. Neurons cannot multiply, we are born with a fixed number of neurons. We were taught with the infertility that there's a fixed dogma, which is called as number of fixed ovulation in the females, which is also absolute now. Now, these type of newer research, we need to add to these conferences to our colleagues who are coming up. Otherwise, the technologies conventionally which we are practicing through pharmacological science or conventional medicine, why they are failing? We need to find out a cause for that. Why we are unable to treat these conditions. Any molecule which is designed by a pharmacological drug can target one symptom, can target one protein, not beyond that. We forget our cells in the body, they have multidisciplinary actions. A cell works with the environment. This is what I want to bring to your ideology today. Reason that is the reason I call this as a drug molecule. I call this a drug molecule which is living, which senses with the breathing, which exhales, which inhales. It senses the environment in which it is and then delivers the anti-inflammatory, immunomodulatory, or pro-inflammatory, or angiogenic, anti-apoptic, anti-fibrotic, whatever you want, that drug can deliver. Ever you feel maybe a fancy what I'm talking. Reason? I'm also taught the same thing. But I'm amongst the odd who is going into research to find out what is this happening and why we cannot do. In the course of my talk, I'm going to take you a small story of health crisis. Most important in the health crisis, I'm going to focus on organ failures, why we are facing organ failures, and how cell-based technology can change today's two major problems of organ transplant and where otherwise it can be applied. One is the concept of donors, second is the concept of rejections. They are the two major issues which historically I'll take you in the journey to show you why we are failing and why cellular science can take over these failure causes. That is the reason I spoke very clearly. If we can go beyond or edge what we are taught and try to scrutinize how beautifully your body is designed by nature, how it is working, what are the repairing powers. We have all repairing powers in our body. Everything is repairable. Today we are sitting only because the cells are repairing you. The same thing if you go years earlier or even to the species which are like salamander, starfish or any primitive animals. They have a not repairing power, they have a regeneration powers because of blastomeres. These are the changes which we are looking as a science and applying that to the human life to change the quality of life beyond what we can think. This is generally about what is my journey in research. Basically, since I am a clinician, I have a little less background of science. I always believe with today biology as taking over an application in the medicine, researchers and clinicians need to work together so as the untreatable conditions or devastating diseases, which we label them devastating today because we don't have solutions to them. We call them devastating. Those diseases we have solutions, we don't call them devastating. So why this devastating name exists in the history, we have to find out, and that is much possible when a clinician works hands in hand with the researcher. As I spoke to you, current status of organ transplant, what are the limitations of existing healthcare management, what is an umbrella of regenerative medicine. We all talk specific things. How much of our research has reached to the common man? How much of our research? There are so many conflicts are happening. Ever anybody thinks that this digital molecule is changing the human life? No. They all go backdrops, researches. If these researches cannot be taken from a bench to the bed, and that cannot change the human life, then that research doesn't exist. It becomes a history. And the next generation forgets you on what you have done. If you really want to see that your work has changed the human life, then you need to work focus to take these changes in research to the common man so that the next generation will also learn about it. Role of regenerative medicine, organ transplant, prevention of organ transplant failures. Now, this is one unit which I want to when I am talking of organ transplant, there is a small video which will display you what are the miracles in science or science is miracle. This will display you an idea when in 1950s the first heart transplant took place. Ever this was the story of heart transplant and to correlate the history with today. Many voices there?
Yes, sir.
But among the greatest advances science has made in the last 100 years is a discovery that is so dramatic and so profound that it has literally saved hundreds of thousands of lives. It is the extraordinary act of taking a healthy organ from one person and transplanting it into another to give them new life.
Transplantation probably is the greatest triumph of medicine of the 20th century.
It is more than a miracle of science, it's a science of miracles.
Now you can see the transplant technology is not today, it is done 50, 70 years before. Likewise, if you see, the transplant of kidney was done in 1954 at Harvard School. You can see the backs, there are two theaters, one theater is showing where they are harvesting, the other part of the theater is showing where they are transplanting. The history is of not today. If you look at these two pictures, one video and a picture, the problems then of one rejection is still today we are facing the same problem. We have not done any extraordinary research in the science. Then also the same problem, today again the same problem. If you would have done something extraordinary work, you would have come about GVHD definitely, but still that is the existing problem. This particular current scenario, if you see in this graph, the gap of availability of transplant and rejections are in the same ratio growing, whereas availability is increasing. The gap is increasing day by day. Even in last 50 years, nothing has changed. The treatment ratios, transplant taking performed, and donor recoveries have remained a similar pattern, whereas the gap is increasing every year because of the population or whatever the organ failure causes are there, because we are growing graciously. What we feel, we are not growing graciously, we are growing with diseases. Today's technology is showing us with the ages, like any 50 plus you can see with diabetes, hypertension, any other problems, and all they are leading to organ failures. Every 10 minutes, one patient is added to the list waiting for organ transplant. Every day, 22 patients die or not being able to receive a match donor. Again, a big problem. You can imagine, these are statistics for one country like US. We don't know in India as statistics, but if you can imagine the statistics you have to apply to India, it will multiply. So this is a gift of life. I call transplant as a gift of life, because the person who needs a transplant is waiting for a gift of life, because the one who is donating is giving actually a life to him. In spite of transplant communities, companies are actively working on promoting brain death organ donors. Waiting list is increasing. You can see the graph which is showing the way waiting list is increasing. We have tried first with the related donors. Much limitation. The list will increase. People have tried, communities have tried to go to unrelated donors. Again, finding out some bioethical and ethical issues. Organ trafficking, because the part of the world where we live, like the Asian continent, has a financial big burdens to treat this kind of conditions. So when you talk of unrelated donors, there are many issues which speak that how it is going to affect. And there is a big problem to distinguish between a voluntary donor and a forced donor. Forced donor, again, you can call commercial organs, you can call commercial giftings. That leads to organ trafficking. I am talking of the issues. Why? Because that leads to understand how to overcome this problem. Because years together this problem is existing. And I want to correlate how regenerative medicine can change these ratios. Limited organ supply leading to crime trafficking, serious crime of organ trafficking. In spite of all, a gap between organ and organ availability continues to widen, as is the graph which we are seeing. The biggest concern, in spite of organ availability, GVHD, acute rejection, chronic graft restrictions, or natural maturity, death graft, are the reasons where we still have our same issues 100 years before today, same issues. We have spoken of so many drug molecules, none of them has helped them to overcome these limits. Limitations of existing healthcare management, as I told you, if you see the health crisis, I told you I'll talk about health crisis. Escalating cost for the treatment, with current scenario of whatever we talk of research taking place in pharmacological drugs, none of the conditions which are being treatable lower down. If you see the limitation of treatment, none of autoimmune disease we can treat today. We will talk of most advanced molecular antibodies. They, as I told you, these bodies can target only one inflammatory molecule. But we forget there are 10 types of other inflammatory molecules. Within 2 months, patient comes back symptoms. Nothing happens. Organ failure, our aging process. Today I am going to focus this particular topic. Aging process is not called graciously today's. It has led to a cause of adding diseases, that aging diseases, you can list all of them. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, diabetes, all these are the diseases which are morbid, comorbid conditions, and there are no treatments. The list is increasing. The more you go into deep, there are 4,000 orphan diseases where we don't have treatments. There are more than 100 type of diseases, genetics or metabolic disorders or aging processes, where we really say to the patient, I was 4 years saying to my patients, I can't do anything to you. You have to live, you have to survive, make yourself possible live, otherwise you have to wait till your death. Genetic disease, cancer. Cancer particularly I call to be a global epidemic. Degenerative, developmental, congenital, none of them have got a solution today. And whatever we talk solutions are only limiting to the conventional methods, where external engineering efforts to correct or compensate the lost function by treating only signs and symptoms, addressing it only. But the disease lower down continuously progresses. Have you ever seen a person who has gone on insulin? He has come out of insulin and he has not got any complication of diabetes? Not ever. Nitroglycerin. Both the drugs were invented 50 years before, 100 years before. Neither the person who has gone nitroglycerin has survived of heart failure or heart problems. He ultimately ends up with the heart failure. Insulin, ultimately he ends up with the gangrene, nephropathy, retinopathy. What you talk about the disease, he is a gift of that. So need of the hour, change of paradigm in health, heading towards cure from signs, symptoms to separation. This is by using natural ways of our body. Usually I call these are healers of the body, because body is continuously in the process of regeneration and repair. Assure complete safety and minimum side effects, also ensure long-term benefits. All this is possible provided we have a right thing, right place at right time. You can't go expect at the last stage to have results of first stage. We can't. That's the reason right time is very important for diagnosis. Innovations are required. I was impressed with Dr. Divan's talk today because he says in two areas. One is a sensible innovation and second is a nonsense innovation. Always speak one very important theory. Remember, if your innovation cannot reach the common man and it cannot change the human life, it is going to go to the dustbin. Your efforts, your knowledge, your theories, your protocols, your SOPs, after 50 years nobody remembers. Nobody remembers. If it is to be practiced, then we have to think. We can't solve the problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So we need to think of parallel thinking. Nothing wrong, Albert Einstein said. Innovation should be disruptive for a reason. When I'm talking to this, it does mean we have to prove about the proven science. If you are going to talk about some invention, and if you cannot prove both in a safety and efficacy, result-wise, changing the human life, then it cannot work. So it has to prove all these things, then it can be a disruptive innovation. So we have to change, bring the conventional methods and think of something which is disruptive, going closer to the nature through evolving science. And what is the evolving science? Is a biological science. Down the line, 5 years or 10 years, I'll assure you, every molecule which you are going to use for your treatment will come from any one of the regenerative medicine molecule, maybe a cytokine, maybe a chemokine, maybe a growth factor, maybe a cell, maybe a adult cell, maybe a progenitor cell, maybe a stem cell. Anything could be that. It could be a scaffolds, it could be anything. These are going to change your lives. To prove my theory what I taught today, I'll take you to back your genesis. You were born as a single cell zygote. All of us know once upon a time we were single cell, though we are multiple cell today. Our life started with a single cell zygote, having 30,000 genes in the nucleus, 5,000 in the mitochondria. Differentiating potential, we have 220 organs in the body, from hair to nail. All 220 organs are developed from this single cell. Ever have you thought of this? We don't think even application of this. This single cell has a potential to make 150 trillion cells where we are composed of our human body today. By the time it goes to 4th week, we call it to be a morula. 32 to 64 cells, blastomeres. Again a potential of totipotency. Totipotency indicates that it can differentiate into 220 types of cells as an embryonic tissue and extra-embryonic cord and plasma. Means if I put this totipotent cell in 14 or 16 different uteruses, I can create those 16 different lives. Before it differentiates, first differentiation which takes place towards the 1 week by CDXR 2 gene expression and leaves as an inner cell mass and outer cell mass. Ever have you imagined, as we differentiate, we lose the power of regeneration. I told you salamanders, they carry power of regeneration. Because they carry blastomeres. We lose this power immediately here. The cost of differentiation, the cost of intelligent animal on the earth, the cost of our getting into a specialized organs. We are losing the power of regeneration. Today scientists are working. Can we not go back to blastomeres? What is there? Can we not have our regeneration powers back? Maybe we are not far off from that. We are very close to it. Maybe at the 5-year year, you will find some of the theories I will explain in this itself. When you go after the 7th day, the inner cell mass starts differentiating into different tissues first. Organs are later on formed. First the tissues are formed. What are the tissues? First tissue which develops in your body. Can you imagine what is the first tissue is differentiating in your body? Can anyone tell me? From the audience? Can you imagine what is the first tissue is being developed in your body? Before the mother knows that she is pregnant, your brain starts developing. The second system we develop is the immune system. There are only two systems in our body which are connected to every organ. You talk of organ, immune system is connected. Immune cell is there, connecting to it. You talk of organ, nerve is there. And then come the vascular system. Endothelial cells then come. These are, we never think about it, how this is happening, why this is happening. Nature has designed your body in such a way, it is such a beautiful computer, pre-designed, pre-programmed, with pre-programmed genes inside. What are they supposed to do? What are the signals they are supposed to need? What are the signals coming from extracellular matrix to the cell, cell to cell? These are their own languages, chemical languages which they speak, and ask how do you function? What is the function you require? What you should do? These are done by your extracellular matrix in the niche of every tissue. And when we can know this science at this level, I can deliver the best of treatment through these niches. When these cells are making your tissues through differentiation by simple some of the specific signals which are getting not from a cell but from the extracellular matrix in which they are hibernating, in which they are growing. If you understand that, we can differentiate those cells into those lineages very easily. Now, most important theory here lies being developed by these specific cells into an organ as a raw material. Can we not treat our disease using the same cells of your organ, of your body? Give a simple example. You have all of you build up your house. What have you used? Mortar, steel, bricks. Can you repair your house with using plastics? Can you repair? Agreed. Then what will repair your bodies? Why chemical molecules will repair your bodies? When your cells are making them. The simple philosophy, go to the science as a science. When you understand this, you can understand how your body is repairing. As a children, you might have got an injury. Yes? Yes, no? How does your wound has healed? No doctor has healed your wound. He has just given an ointment and antibiotic just to protect you from infection and pain. Your cells are healing from dermal plane. Epidermal stem cells are there. Orthopedician, he will just put two bones together, nothing else. He will put a plate or a plaster, the bone cell deposition and calcium deposition, your body is doing. Nobody is doing. Nobody can do it even. Any molecule on the earth cannot bring that healing. Any molecule of that. The philosophy of showing this light for you is that every organ of your body is being developed, and from the same cells the organs are forming. Organs get together towards the third trimester, and by third trimester end you are born as 2.5 kg and 25 inches. Am I true? Am I true? And this all has become from one cell. Single molecule. 2.5 kg and 25 inches. And another 20 years, you become 60 kg, 6 feet. You agree with me? Another 20 years, you become 60 kg, 6 feet. Who makes you? Cells make you. Now logic is that when during the course of this your life of 20 years, you have undergone some diseases because of environmental problem, your lifestyle, what you are in maybe, these are the cells who have repaired you. You get gastric ulcer, you go to doctor, he will give just an antacid or something which is going to change the acidity in your body. But the epithelium of the intestine, epithelium of the stomach is healing you. Nothing is other healing you. The cells are being generated there. Now when you understand this power is being used by nature for you healing, then what is wrong to think that the same cell, your own cell, autologous cells, they cannot change your life? Yes, what's your opinion? Can they change you or not? I hope you are not accepting my theory. Or you are accepting? It has to change. It has to change. The ideology of my saying you is this only for to make you understand the repairing job is done by yourself. The total concept of regenerative medicine is an umbrella where you can understand autologous cells, allogeneic cells, tissue engineering, chondrocytes, hepatocytes, individual adult cells or cytokines, cell markers, beta cells, VEGF, cytokines, then progenitor cells, scaffolds, as I spoke to you. All of them, they make a sense of improvement for you and can be used for the treatment for you. What is common in regenerative medicine and conventional organ transplant? The most common thing in all of them is repair. Whether you go for rejuvenation, whether the restoration by replacement organ, or you use cells for regeneration, the ultimate aim is or repair for the organ. If this organ repair we can do it, possibly the best essential goal is improve the organ function. Regenerative medicine, replace or regenerate human cells, tissue or organ, thereby restore or reestablishing normal function, thereby achieving repair ultimate goal. Its principle is to differentiate potential and cytokine chemokines of the cells. The promise of regenerative medicine to apply them into regenerative applications of the tissues of the body, whether it's an organ or a tissue, whether it's a joint or a bone, can be complied only on two grounds. One, an inexhaustible source of cells. Inexhaustible source. What do you mean by inexhaustible source? Inexhaustible source indicates any molecule when we think of being used for treatment purpose or therapy purposes, it has to be required in an inexhaustible source. It has to be million, billion and trillion cells. If that is possible, then only we can use that as a source. Second, most important is immunosuppression free transplantation of tissues and organs. Sorry, I'll have water. This immunosuppression free, sorry. Oh, fine, thank you. Immunosuppression free is very important in talking of any transplant. If we can achieve this, probably whatever the transplant we do, then 50 years before the same problem was there. Today you have the same problem is there. We need to focus on these issues, and regenerative medicine really can change how we can do it. An inexhaustible source, medical revolution. In last 100 years, if something has changed as a science, neither the science coming from computer science or astronomical science can change the human life. But the science which has changed is now the biological science which is changing the human life. Blastocyst derived ESCs, we remember in 1995 the story Dolly the Ship, we all remember, changed the dynamics of health industry. People could understand cloning as a story, could be exchanged as a therapeutic or research basis, neither for a commercial basis. And there remained the first experiment started in Shinya with Gordon. They were together working on this. And it lead to a therapy why I cannot induce somatic cell into an characteristics of embryonic stem cell. iPSCs came started thinking on that. It took for 10 years. 2006, Shinya Manika succeeded in producing first induced pluripotent cell, for which 2012 we got a Nobel for him. So these are the stories which come in years together, passing on, the research took place, as well as we can use adult-derived stem cells. All other sources can be used commercially or partially differentiated, committed or partially differentiated cells. I'll take care, sir. I told you I'll take care. 3D printing, tissue engineering, decellularization. I'll run little fast for you. You may, if anybody is interested, they can discuss me personally afterwards. Now, organ techniques in regeneration, cell transplantation, cell therapies, organ regeneration by 3D printings, decellularization, bioscaffolds, and xenotransplant. Decellularization are the techniques where we can think of autologous transplants by using patient's own organs. 3D printings. I'll skip because there is a master of 3D printers and tissue engineering, Dr. Megnath here. I did not talk here much on this. Decellularization also is a technology which is being, your university college is doing a lot of work on this. This is the basic idea of how decellularization takes place. The goal of regenerating a complex organ, most important in this complexity in organ, solid organ, is neurovascular structures. How do I connect the transplant organs, neurovascular structures, to the adapting body? This is a big challenging job. When we talk of these kind of technologies to take as a standard of medical care, I repeat my sentence, standard of medical care, it does mean we have to have a standardization for ethical values, so as every event, every molecule which you are going to be of the same quality, same consistency, same results, same potency has to be maintained. The standardization plays a major role in this kind of technologies. Then training and skilled personnel is a big job. Technology is just evolving. There's a big requirement of, we don't have those kind of trained people in this technology. Regulatory approvals again play a major role. Then again you have ethical acceptance and the cost at the ultimate. If you want to take this technology sciences to the common man, cost is again a very important issue. As a surgeon, I always thought, I was taught as an open surgery was 100 years open adaptabilities and technologies. It has evolved from an open surgery of transplants to an endoscopic surgeries, mini hole surgeries for transplant even. So can we, as researchers and physicians, cannot think, change our conventional methods, go to the molecules which can change. We need to change. The purpose of saying is that I, being a clinician and surgeon, I have an idea that we need to change our thinking process and upregulate our systems to change the human life. Current status of cell-based therapy for far more simpler and more for practical approach, autologous or allogeneic sources, minimal or more than manipulated cells can be used. Metallurgicals are already established, can be applied to all other conditions, severely ill conditions. Clinical trials are underway. Look, media also talk the same thing. Can we use growth factors? Can we use stimulating factors? People who are waiting for liver transplant and buy time, yes, we can use. We can use target-based treatment for such liver transplants. We can use CD34 along with MSCs. Deliver the cells into hepatic artery. I can assure you, if you can do little early in early stages, you can buy a liver for him of his own. So we have to understand how we can apply these therapies. MSCs, autologous, can be therapeutic stem cell progenitor cell transplant for organ revascularization. If you understand, this paper is very good. It speaks that bone marrow has got progenitor cell, vascular cells, it has got implanting cells. All those cells are making already revascularization in your body. Can we not use them? Regenerative medicine, organ and tissue transplantation, short practical availability. MSCs can be used for them in transplant. They have strong immunomodulatory power. They are not single drugs. They are with multifaceted facility. They secrete around 700 types of cytokines. We cannot imagine the proteins they can secrete of different types of proteins. trophic, immunomodulatory. At the same time, environment changes, cell behavior changes. Immunomodulation in almost all transplants we can use it. Along with the transplant, pre-transplant and post-transplant, we can make the viable survival of the transplants. Immunomodulatory, anti-inflammatory, antibiotic, cell differentiation, protein cytokine synthesis, and angiogenesis. Promise of the stem cell, you can apply, see the number of conditions. They are just bestowed for you. You can just understand the autologous. I am talking of your own cell. I am not talking of allogenic tissue here at all. Cardiac repair, liver cirrhosis, beta cell repair, neural repairs, and many more conditions. One drug, one action, one MLC can deliver all actions. As I showed you, the number of proteins, molecules which can be given you treatment. The basic challenges in cell therapy are the one I said you, the scaling of cells. How do we get the scale? One or two cells cannot treat the patient. That's the basic challenge. Reproducibility, consistency, quality, potency, I spoke you. Poor cell survival, cost of transplant efficiency, lack of true regeneration. Many times homing becomes a problem. We need to develop the homing potential of the cell. How do we home them properly? We need to know regulatory issues and then manufacturing difficulties. Hence we need, in spite of all this, ultimately I am going back to the organ transplant, cannot be negated by replacement by only cell therapy. We have to depend on that. Reason we need to have look more modalities. How do we deal with GVHD? How do we deal with GVHD? Yes, MSC should be the source to deal with GVHD. Advanced autologous stem transplant. Similar have been published in many of the journals. I have given you references here. You can go through the journal references for liver transplant. A single game-changing medical achievement by MSC. It's a game-changing achievement. This drug can change our lives, not only in transplant, in number of indications. Our new living drugs at the horizon, MSC's multiple action. It can recover, it can rescue, it can cure you. Hope of the future, with these cell-based therapies from early stage disease can be really, as I told you, if early cirrhosis of livers are there, we target these therapies, we can go for much of the target with differentiated cell and MSCs. MSC qualities I told you, antibiotic, angiogenic, antifibrotic. We use those qualities along with the adult cells. They get homing, they give a homing power. The MSCs also increase the homing of the cells. These are certain procedures we do at Schematics. We have certain patents for hip replacement surgeries. We have developed a technology by using autologous techniques, and we have patented this technique. This is an international patent for us. With autologous stem cells can be used for hip regeneration. These are research publications where we have worked a lot of research in particularly orthopedic conditions. Neurogenic bladder is also a patented technology of ours where we can alleviate the neural transplants. Using bladder, this is done at our place. Then vascular necrosis is regularly being a very clinical trial going along with the WRB in US in Coast University. We have collaboration to do this clinical trial. We are collaborating with these universities. Recently, we have deployed Prodigy. We are launched on 17th. This is a GMP compliance unit. We have to just feed at one end a raw material like a bone marrow or a peripheral blood. You computerize this, feed up the program to the cell of what you want to develop this cell. It can make you DC cells activated, NK cells activated, it can make you MSCs, it can do progenitor cells, it can make even CAR T cells, which is the talk of today. All those things you can make it with this unit. The world is going beyond what you can imagine. This is what we received award for our presentation in Paris. These are recognitions. This is one disease which is the empty nose syndrome. Most of the physicians also not knowing this. If you go to those persons who get terminectomy, they end up with a fibrosis. There are certain people who have tendency to heal with fibrosis. These are the patients. All terminectomy patients doesn't suffer with this. They feel they are not breathing because the healing in the terminate goes with fibrosis. And once the fibrosis is there, he doesn't get neural receptors there. He doesn't get that sense of smelling, sense of breathing, and they get suffered with the syndrome called as empty nose syndrome. This is about our, this is a child which was treated as 1 month, 4 months, 1 year, 2 months, cerebral palsy. The youngest child, I had given a cancer talk with Pratibha Patil. how we can engage in research, integrated medicine to change the results of cancer. I have spent some of my time with these luminaries like Nobel laureates and the director of World University. They have been guidance to me in developing all my protocols. These are my training programs where I did my training. This is my certification of my training in the US for stem cells. And beyond hope, as we constantly strive towards future, we find technology and scientific breakthroughs moving us towards a direction that was never imagined. Ongoing discovery of stem cell treatment has given a rise to a new alternative techniques of treatment and a new way to control our lives. Stem cell therapy has emerged as one of the most exciting and gifted fields in biological science. Advancement can leave a future and healthier life with new hope. This journey to stem cell treatment is an exciting one, as it would enable me to help people live their dreams. Thank you for your patient hearing. I believe I have helped you to get something for your body science. Thank you.